It's no secret the biggest Hollywood fumble of the decade, if not century, is Johnathan Majors playing Kang the Conqueror in the MCU. Dude had it made. An Avengers movie centered around him, multiple spin-offs, cameos, millions upon millions of dollars raining down all around him, but two very important factors led to this downfall. One, and the most obvious, himself, and two, the strange depictions of not only his character, but of villainous threats in general across the MCU. Kang as the big bad should have been a slam dunk. In fact, out of every Marvel villain out there, he was really the best possible choice to follow Thanos. And with Marvel's recent backpedaling and dropping of the character outright in favor of Robert Downey Jr.'s version of Doctor Doom is, to me, a really bad choice because Kang could have been phenomenal. But before we get into the video, if you're like me, then you've definitely struggled with getting a good night's rest or even a refreshing nap. That's why I'm excited to share how today's sponsor, Manta Sleep, has completely transformed my sleep routine. I tend to sleep very hot, so I picked up the Manta Cool Mask. And when I say it genuinely helped me get to sleep, that is an understatement. I haven't fallen asleep this fast in months. Looking at the mask, the first thing you'll notice is just how adjustable it is. You can easily customize the fitting to your liking, ensuring a perfect, comfortable experience every time. The materials feel incredibly premium and soft against your skin, which make a huge difference when you're trying to unwind. Plus, the design blocks out light completely, helping you drift off effortlessly. And what's even better is that this mask isn't just for nighttime. It's perfect for those midday naps too. If you're ready to elevate your sleep game, check out Manta Sleep. Head over to mantasleep.com and use my code SHANE10 at checkout for 10% off your order. That's SHAYNE 10 at checkout. Don't miss out on this chance to enhance your sleep. And once again, thank you to Manta for sponsoring this video. Let's start by going back and explaining just who the hell this Kang the Conqueror character is. Kang the Conqueror made his first appearance in Avengers number 8 in 1964 and was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Born as Nathaniel Richards, a 31st century scholar and descendant of Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, Nathaniel discovered time travel technology and began exploring different eras of time. From here, Nathaniel splits himself into dozens, if not hundreds, of variants, initially traveling back to ancient Egypt, where he became the pharaoh Rama-Tut. However, after being overthrown by the Fantastic Four, he returns to the future and adopts the identity of the Scarlet Centurion to battle the Avengers, only to be defeated once again. Nathaniel then becomes Kang the Conqueror, a warlord with advanced technology and a time-traveling ship, aiming to conquer all of time and space. Another possible future variant of Nathaniel evolves into the character Immortus, a more reflective figure overseeing the flow of time, often coming into conflict with his younger self. There is also a teenage version of Nathaniel, who, upon learning of his future as Kang, travels back in time to change his destiny by adopting the identity of Iron Lad and forming the Young Avengers. Overall, Kang's battle with the Avengers and really the Marvel Universe as a whole are frequent and very intricate, often involving the manipulation of timelines and paradoxes and a whole bunch of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Needless to say, a character whose main MO is time alteration in paradoxical situations seems like the perfect villain to follow up a storyline about time alteration and the ensuing paradoxical situations. For those of you who need an MCU Kang recap, in Endgame, after half of all life in the universe is snapped out of existence, Ant-Man suggests using time travel to retrieve the Infinity Stones from the past and reverse Thanos' snap. The Avengers then devise a plan to go on a time heist to gather the stones from different points in time. They accomplish this goal, bring everyone back, Black Widow and Iron Man both die, and after everything is said and done, Captain America returns the stones to their original timelines and decides to stay in the past to live his life with Peggy Carter. Now, following this, we learn that during the time heist, the time-traveling Avengers allowed for a variant of Loki to escape capture at the end of the first Avengers. We then follow this version of Loki where he encounters the Time Variance Authority, or the TVA, an organization that monitors and controls the multiverse's timelines. Loki and another variant of himself named Sylvie eventually uncover the truth about the TVA's origins and the mysterious figure behind it. Meeting He Who Remains at the end of time, it is revealed that he is a Kang variant. He Who Remains explains that he was once a scientist from the 31st century who discovered the existence of the multiverse and met other versions of himself. Some of these variants sought to conquer other realities, leading to a multiversal war. To prevent this, He Who Remains created the TVA to maintain a singular timeline and prevent the rise of his more dangerous variants. Sylvie, seeking revenge for her suffering, kills He Who Remains, unleashing the multiverse and setting the stage for the emergence of more dangerous Kang variants. We next see Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where, after the Ant-Man family are sucked into the quantum realm, we learn that Kang, trapped there, rules the quantum realm with an iron fist. Apparently, this version of Kang was exiled by his variants out of fear he would destroy the multiverse. And in the end, after using a bunch of ants, Ant-Man kills this Kang and returns home. Loki Season 2 picks up with the fallout of unleashing the multiverse. The timeline is now fragmented, with the multiverse becoming unstable. Finding Victor Timely, aka another Kang variant, Loki and his friends at the TVA try to develop a way to stabilize the multiverse, but ultimately fail, resulting in Loki unleashing his own Asgardian magic to control the multiverse and become the god of stories. After this event, the TVA is converted into an organization that lets timelines flourish, while eliminating any Kang variants that pop up. And as of now, that is the end of Kang in the MCU. The Kang Dynasty movie is now called Doomsday and will now follow Doctor Doom, and then that leads into Avengers: Secret Wars. Now, after laying it out like that, does Kang's presence in the MCU feel a bit disjointed to you? That's because it is. Kang, for all intents and purposes, just popped up and was swiftly clobbered, and worse yet, nothing about this historically time-traveling character was a response to the Avengers traveling through time. To me, this reeks of one of my biggest writing pet peeves. It's a mistake that many writers make more often than not in recent years. It's neglecting the art of narrative de-escalation. This is the story you tell after the fact. What happens when the dust settles? What happens when the big bad is gone? For much of Hollywood, it seems their answer is to undermine their prior threat with an even bigger, newer threat. While the dramatic peak of a story often receives the most attention, narrative de-escalation is crucial for creating a satisfying and believable next chapter. It allows for a deeper exploration of the aftermath, showing how characters and worlds adjust to their new realities. By focusing on this phase, writers can offer a more nuanced resolution, demonstrating the consequences of the conflict and providing space for character growth and reflection. Neglecting this aspect can lead to a disjointed continuation that feels unsatisfying or contrived, as unresolved plotlines or hastily wrapped up resolutions can undermine the emotional weight of the story. In essence, effective de-escalation helps to close narrative loops and ensure that the story's next chapter resonates with its prior, creating a more cohesive and impactful experience for the audience. Nowadays, many writers just make the next big bad bigger and badder than the last, completely undermining the prior threat. For example, when you destroy one Death Star, the answer isn't a bigger Death Star. And when you destroy the bigger Death Star, the answer isn't 1,000 Death Stars. Or in the case of Marvel, when you stop Thanos, the answer isn't a bigger, badder Thanos. The next story should center around the results of defeating Thanos. How did the Avengers stop Thanos? Tony Stark had to create time travel in order for them to go back in time to finally stop him. But that concept, that narrative can of worms Tony opened, is never discussed again, nor are there any real repercussions. When Tony Stark created time travel, it should have opened the door for Kang. Kang should only exist because the Avengers were so desperate to stop Thanos. Kang isn't the bigger threat compared to Thanos. Kang is the complement because of Thanos. The only way for the Avengers to stop Thanos ultimately results in Kang being created. Now from there, you build the story off that concept. You start small. How does the world rebuild now that everyone's back? That in and of itself is a very, very interesting story that has been touched upon in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and then never again. You focus on that story for the next phase. Keep things grounded. However, in the background, you start to build intrigue by strange temporal happenings, like characters who were previously dead are somehow back and nobody knows why. Characters who are alive now look different, and past events are remembered differently by all. And out of all of these things, only the ones who actually time traveled can remember what reality should look like. Here's where you introduce Kang. Here's where the threat grows from small to large. Here's where the Avengers learn that due to their time heist, they created a fledgling multiverse by creating too many alternate realities that continue to branch off from one another. But above all else, in doing the time heist and inventing time travel in the first place, they also created Kang. From here, once this Kang threat is dealt with, then you start branching out into the multiverse saga, as the genie is now out of the bottle. Due to the Avengers meddling with time, they created Kang. And Kang, further meddling with time, created the multiverse. And the multiverse leads to the next big Thanos-level threat. Do you see how all these story beats complement each other? Kang should have been a stepping stone to the eventual multiverse saga, not the one to helm it. In defeating Thanos, Kang should have been created. In defeating Kang, the multiverse should have been birthed. Each new threat complements the last. It doesn't undermine it. And that brings us to where we are today. Now, since the MCU skipped a very, very crucial bit of narrative de-escalation before ramping up to the next big bad, they're basically jumping the shark and relying solely on fan service and cameos, not substance. In the end, do I think RDJ will be a good Doctor Doom? Of course, he'll knock it out of the park. However, the road to get there isn't the path Marvel should have taken.